I have Facebook, and I have YouTube. And then over on this side, hi everyone on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Over on this side, I have TikTok. So you guys can see each other, right? Like there you go, TikTok, and Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So how's everybody Wednesday morning going? It is a great day to be alive. It's beautiful outside. I'm waiting for the thunderstorms to pass so I can go out and plant some things today. So, does rainbows, confusion? Rainbows are amazing. Absolutely. Kindness is our path forward. So, yeah. So, leadership for the future. And that is what we're going to talk about today. It's really one of these things where we're teeter-tottering between two different types of leadership, right? Number one, the type of leadership is the command and control culture, which a lot of us have seen, right? The dictator type. What's going on here in the state of Florida is a great example of the command and control culture that's the way it's going to go. Then you have on the other side, your more equitable, nurturing culture, right? And that's what our younger generations are looking for. And sorry, I was reaching for something. I need to go over here and grab it real fast. I'll be right back with you. Where is it? Oh, I don't know. Sorry about that this morning. So we're teetering between two different types of leadership right now. My name is Cherie Krim, for those of you who don't know me. I know on some platforms, you know me more than on others. And I hope over here on TikTok, I get some more followers because I truly believe that kindness is our path forward. My name is Cherie Krim. I am the author of The Business Case for Kindness. And it actually talks about how kindness, respect, and trust hold the power to transform corporate America. I used to work in telecom. I worked for a Fortune 10 company. I was in the top leadership. I was a top director at a Fortune 10 company. And while working there for 15 years, I learned really quickly that what we think, how things are supposed to work, right? You work hard and you're going to get opportunities. You do these things and everything will work out in a certain way. I think more of us, as we're realizing, that's not really the case. I'll tell you, at the end, I was one of only a few women in a room of 100 men, because I was on the technology and the operation sides of things. And how I got there is because I'm a process efficiency expert. I can see things across different things you have going on in your company. Let's just say, for example, you have a call center. And in your call center, your representatives are handling certain types of calls, and they have a process on how they are going to handle those certain types of calls. Well, I will go in, I'll look at that process, I'll look at your systems, and I'm going to see, hey, what in the world is going on here? Does this work for them, or can we actually make it better? Now, I have been working in corporate. I went through 15 years of layoffs, surpluses, I should say, within this particular Fortune 10 telecom company, which everybody on LinkedIn can go see who I used to work for, right? I think everybody knows. And if you don't over here on LinkedIn, yeah, go out there and look for it. I'm not ashamed to say I used to work for them, but I also tried, well, you know what? They kind of suck and they're not doing anything right now. So you know what? Why not say it? AT&T, they used to, well, no, hold on. At this point, it's been 23 years of straight surpluses and layoffs that we've been able to find, right? And that seems to become the normal within corporate America. So I wrote The Business Case for Kindness based on working in corporate for 15 years. I do have my undergraduate. My BA is in management, and my MBA is in general business. I truly know how leadership will work for the future. And this is the roadmap for the future, the business case for kindness. After I left corporate, it was a really good time learning, I should say, unlearning the stress that is put onto you, or I guess you allow to be put onto you. And once you unlearn that stress and you realize the toxicity, who out there has worked in a toxic work environment? Who out there is under a toxic local government, right? Who's out there who has a toxic manager? 80% of all employees leave their jobs. Why? Because of their manager. Is that manager a leader? You would think, seeing that type of attrition, you would realize that maybe you are not the leader that you think you are. Now, the younger generation, I truly believe and know from watching millennials and Generation Z in the workforce that they want the more equitable, nurturing culture. They are tired of this command and control, do as I say, when there's better ways to do it, right? I think the pandemic showed us, especially in a lot of corporate jobs, that you don't actually have to be in the office to get the work done. So why are companies trying to force employees back into the office again? The command and control side of things, because they want to see you for some odd reason. And I don't know why some management thinks this way. If they see you at work, you're actually doing work. I believe, and I want to say the numbers, like 90 or 95% of people have stated when they work from home or they work remotely, they actually get more work done than they would be doing in the office. It really isn't that hard. So I've got somebody over here on TikTok saying exactly, I don't know which comment that was about, but if anybody over here on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn wants to make any comments, they should, in theory, pop up over here on the app that I'm using to be able to stream to everybody. So I left corporate and I decided I was going to do what I wanted to do in my life. And I moved to Panama City Beach. I left Atlanta and I moved to Panama City Beach. Stan says you're not always the leader you think you are. That is true, because you do have to take feedback and you do have to understand what is going on in your employees' lives. So, fun little story. One of my last managers at AT&T, she had no idea when my birthday was. She had no idea what my cats' names were. She had no idea about anything about me. Does that make a leader? Leadership is kind, and leadership is actually having a connection with your employees and working with your employees and not against your employees. Employees should not just be a number. I mentioned 15 years of surplus is why I worked at SBC that then became AT&T, because I went through quite a few mergers as well over the years, and the amount of people, it all was a numbers game, right? How many numbers of people did we have to let go? So I tell this funny story, and I do need to record a whole segment just for this story because it is so ironic what we do to ourselves and not even realize it when you are surplusing or trying to cut things. And this is going on right now with a lot of the companies out there that are doing the surplusing and the laying off right now. They don't know what they've laid off, right? They're laying off groups of people that keep the entire platform running, and they don't even realize that. So I remember, I want to say it was right around the time of the Bell South merger. We as a company decided that we didn't need this team. It was called Integrated Process and Testing. And we decided we didn't need that team. I don't know who the we was who decided this. It wasn't me, because I knew exactly what that team did. They actually made sure that any product or process that we were launching was tested from end to end in every system. That's what they were responsible for. And in somebody's bright idea, they laid off the entire team. So, me, as the finder of things that aren't working exactly the way they should work, I go and I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure out who has this process team. What's out there? What can I do? Very quickly, I found out there was nobody to test my new DSL promotions, where I was giving away some free new stuff, and there were new USOCs and all of this. A USOC is a universal service order code for those of you who are not on the telecom side of things. It's how you ordered things back in the day within the telecom systems. It wouldn't surprise me if it's probably still out there. But you actually, I was like, all right, so we're going to launch this. Who's going to test it? And they're like, well, we don't have a team to do that anymore. I was like, what? You let go the entire team that did this? Why? Well, we didn't know what they did. So, because somebody somewhere did not know what this team did, they let go of an entire team whose whole responsibility was to make sure that the systems worked properly. So, it's one of those things that these mistakes get made because it's really management and not leadership. Because leadership knows what's going on. Leadership knows their employees. Leadership understands what is needed. So there is a model that I created within the business case for kindness. And let's see, I think it's over on this side. I always have props. I do a lot of trainings and pass things around for people to see. So trust, respect, and kindness. And I think everybody can see it on both platforms right now. This is the path for success for our future. It's just like the hierarchy of needs, right? You start at the bottom with kindness, you build up to respect to get to trust. Because what has worked in our past is not going to work in our future. We know that the command and control, yelling and screaming culture is not what will work in the future. The younger generations are telling us this. And if we aren't paying attention, your company's not going to survive. Let's be honest here, right? If you don't know your employees and you are not taking care of your employees, how is your employees going to take care of your company, right? How is that going to happen? Because when you lead with kindness, your employees are going to lead with kindness. And when your employees lead with kindness, what happens? You actually have customers that are treated with kindness. Employees lead with kindness. You lead with kindness. Customers see that you're kind. Customers like good businesses that are nice to them. So what happens? Customers come back. Customers talk about you, about how great your business is, right? But it all starts with the leadership, right? It all starts with the person out there that is doing what needs to be done and standing up and working for the employees and doing and having those hard discussions. So KRT model, I know I pop it back up here. So KRT model, this is part of the business case for kindness. And originally, when I wrote the business case for kindness, it was based on my experience within corporate America, being a director within a Fortune 10 company. And I took what I knew and I put it into a book. Well, I moved, as I think I mentioned earlier, to Panama City Beach. And I started getting involved in nonprofits and in local politics and into a lot of things that help my community and work towards a much better Florida for all. Because every Floridian does deserve the freedom to be healthy, prosperous, and safe. You wouldn't see that and understand that right now, but that is the truth. So when I started getting more involved, I started realizing the KRT model works for all of this. Because kindness as the basis for interactions is how you build a society, a company, a community that works for everyone. So, are there any questions out there? I have somebody over here on TikTok saying it totally makes sense. And then, of course, I have a troll that says, if I'm the leadership for our future, then the future's doomed. So I guess we don't want kindness for our future, from whoever the Pokemon fan 201 without a picture said. You got to love the TikTok trolls. So the future is kind. I 100% believe that. I believe that by leading with kindness, you will build a team that will outperform any team that is based on the command and control model. It's proven. We all know, like, you even go backwards, right? Like, I've got books back here, like The Speed of Trust, right? This is a great book. The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. Who's read this book? So many people have read this book, right? And it says the one thing that changes everything. It's when you look at it and you see the behaviors and how these behaviors lead to trust. It used to be maybe these behaviors were going to get you there, but you need more than what is in this book now, because the empathy and the kindness that the younger generation is looking for is more than what's right there. What the younger generation is looking for is more along the lines of this. So I have a chart. It is online, as well as I've done multiple posts on this, but this is a chart that's within the book. And this actually talks about what is needed to be a KRT leader. So KRT, the kindness, respect, and trust model, the KRT leader is so important because you're leading with the employee in mind. You're not just leading with the bottom line, which I know the bottom line is important, and I know we all want to make money. But money will be made, number one, when you treat your employees with kindness. Your employees will do a good job for you when you lead with kindness. If you don't know when your employee's birthday is, if you don't know what your employees' children's name are, their pets' names, their husband or spouse, their wife's name, anything, if you don't know those things, if you don't know what they're interested in, right? What is somebody who works for you? What is their hobby? Do you know what they're interested in? Do you know what they want to do with their lives? Do you want to help them do that? Right there, set yourself apart. So, looking at the top characteristics for a KRT leader. Today, we're going to talk about kindness. And then next week, we'll talk every Wednesday. I will be live here. I see some people I know on the TikTok, and I have somebody over here I know. Over here, I'm not sure which stream you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. So, today we're going to talk about kindness. Next week, the kindness part of the KRT model. And next week, we will dig in more onto the respect and trust side of things. So I'm going to give a couple examples today, and we will talk through also an example that's in my book about leadership and how leaders are treated, how things are a little different on those things. So top characteristics for a KRT leader. Number one, humility and empathy. And I say humility and empathy in a way that a lot of people, I know many leaders who are not humble and are not empathetic and don't want to know about their employees. But that's not going to get us to the future. Empathy is key. Thank you, Neil, over here on TikTok. Empathy is the key. And it's funny, I have all my books. I don't know where I had moved it to. I think I've got it back here. Brene Brown, Daring Greatly. I know reading books is really important. And I actually have a leadership library of books at one of the nonprofits that I helped start here. I helped start the only LGBTQ center safe place here in the Panhandle of Florida. And we started getting books, and people started donating books. And books just kept coming. And learning from other people's experiences is really important. So if you haven't read this book, it is How the Courage to Be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead, right? Humility and empathy make us vulnerable. And being able and the courage to do this, it's hard to want to do something that maybe you've never done before. It is really hard. But if you want to just take that first step, try something a little different. Go try and you know what? Talk to a stranger in the street who might be homeless. There's an example. Talk with them. Have a conversation. I don't even know how many people I've met that have never spoken to somebody who they deem as unacceptable in society. Just because they don't have a place to live does not mean that something is wrong with them. In my community, more than 50% of my homeless are veterans. Why is that? Because my price of housing is too high and they don't have enough money to be able to live. That is exactly what is going on here. So go take the time, empathy, go out there, go donate some time to a charity, go work at a homeless shelter, go do a food giveaway. With the nonprofit that I mentioned, we do community supper every Thursday at the church where we're at. And ours is every other month on the final Thursday of the month. And we go out there and we donate our time and we work with the community, and it makes a difference. And working with the community and empathy I think it kind of goes hand in hand. So thinking of other ways of kindness. Who has learned active listening skills over the years? I know when I was teaching in my MBA, I got to teach some classes around executive skills, and active listening was one of those skills that was so important for people to learn. How many leaders out there actually actively listen? They listen before they speak. Most of us listen so we can reply. Listening so that we can understand is different. So be able to listen before speaking. Building a relationship with your employees. Can you do that? Can you take the time to get to know your employees and know what's important to them? Because building a relationship with your employees is part of kindness and part of the KRT model. The younger generation, I think even in my generation, we know when somebody's being fake, right? We know if you really don't give a shit about us. We kind of know that, right? So you have to be authentic and genuine with your leadership. Authentic and genuine. Because if you really don't care, you're never going to be a good leader. Hey, yay, Neil, I'm Gen X too. I am on the other end. Well, 75 is when I was born. So I'm kind of on that side of Gen X. So I can understand the millennial side of this. And the millennials, they want to know that we care, right? And for us to show that we actually care about them. And that's where authentic and being genuine matter. That also means you have to be authentic and genuine with yourself. I know a lot of people who are different people in corporate than they are in their regular lives because they don't think that they would be approved of how they are. So I remember when I started getting tattoos, I didn't want the tattoos anywhere they were visible. So I have tattoos that you can't see. Well, my next tattoo is going to go right here and it's going to be very visible because I'm not worried about that anymore. But people are. They're afraid of that with the genuine and the authenticity. They're afraid to be who they are. So it's a hard thing to start learning on. And that's where reading a book like Daring Greatly and learning to be vulnerable, it can transform things for you. Oh, this is my favorite part of this kindness model. You know how to handle problems and conflicts without yelling. A true leader never raises their voice or yells. They don't. We don't. People who are out there yelling and screaming, they're doing it so that they can keep their control. Command and control versus more nurturing, equitable. The yelling and the screaming, the adult bullies, they're the ones out there that can't handle problems or conflict without yelling and screaming or blame, right? It always has to be somebody else's fault. But being a KRT leader, a leader for the future, means you can actually handle a problem and conflict without yelling. Now, there's a whole section of the business case for kindness that goes through, and I mentioned the executive skills I used to train. It's actually now what I have called the must-have leadership skills. And one of those is around handling problems in a way that works for everybody and handling conflict. There are processes that you can use and practice and get better at it. And that's the awesome part about leadership and working for the future. We can work together to make this work for all of us. These skills are not something that you may have today. These are skills that you may want to have tomorrow. Well, let's learn them together. Kindness also welcomes diversity, difference of opinions, and that people live outside of work. The baby boomer generation, and I need to plug in my computer real fast here. I thought it was plugged in, but the cord fell down. There we go. Because the last thing I want is everybody over here on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn to get booted off because my computer dies. Diversity, difference opinion lives outside of work. I was taught that really, honestly, your job was your life, right? I mean, you're working there most of the time. You spend all of your energy working for somebody else so you can make money. So then you can come home and do what? Right? Well, the newer generations, their lives are not their jobs. So you have to make sure that whatever job they may be working for you, that you're making it enticing for them, right? And that's part of all of this, being humble, being empathetic, being able to listen to them, being able to build a relationship with them, knowing who they are as people, because their lives are not work. Who out there has had their whole identity wrapped up into what they do, right? I was an AT&T employee. I was a top AT&T employee. I was in the top. I was the Summit Award winner AT&T employee, right? That's who I was. I was in the second ADP class, which was an advanced development program, which was pioneering, where I was able to save the company more than $1 million with just one project. That's who I was. Because we, Generation X, boomers, a lot of things were based on that. The newer generation, that isn't the case. They want lives outside of work. And we need to be okay with that. It's okay. Your whole life does not have to be what you do. It's really good that way. Next is curiosity and optimism. Instead of saying it's always been done that way, why don't we ask, what if? What if we do this another way? Thank you, Neil, for relating. It is your whole identity. Yep. But let's go on to the, can you ask what if? I always did this. I launched more than a dozen new products and processes while working at SBC AT&T over the years. Some of them, fiber to the curb, fiber to the premise, UVerse. You've got iPhones within the center's digital life. I did WiMAX trials, Wi-Fi, so many different things. But I always ask the questions and the what ifs. And I tell you, it always was people who had been in leadership for a long time saying, we can't do it that way. It's not what if we could. We can't do it that way. Well, why can't we do it that way? Well, we can't. That doesn't work. And in fact, just because you couldn't do it that way in the past doesn't mean you can't do that way in the future. what if? Lastly, we're going to talk about how you need to have fun and celebrate successes and be creative with your team, right? Team building isn't just going and, I don't know, you could go do a ropes course. Absolutely could. You could go out and do some drag racing. That's possible. You can rent some really fast cars. You can do lots of things. But you know what's also fun? Just having a little party and sitting there and thanking every single person out loud on your team. Thanking them, saying, we just had this great launch. You don't even have to talk about if there's a problem because there's going to be issues. Things are never going to be perfect. But if you launch something new, talk about the success. Talk about how amazing the team did. Always praise in public and scold in private, period. As I say that, definitely that is the case for leaders and when you're managing a team. Absolutely. So I have a couple people over here. Neil, I think you're still over here on TikTok, and I have my person over here on the other stations. I thank you guys for joining in today. So I mentioned that we're going to give an example. Whew, goodness gracious. And this one is, we're going to talk about hostile work environments and gaslighting, because none of this is on the side of the kindness. So she has worked for the same business for 12 years. This is a real example, by the way. Thank you. Yay. Thank you, Neil, for sending confetti. I love TikTok when random things pop up. It's always fun. So if you're not on TikTok, you should go play on TikTok. So, hi. All the confetti over here. I wish I could have shown you guys over on this side. So she has worked for the same business for 12 years. She has worked her way up to a director position. She joins a new part of the business to launch a new product. During the year, she's subjected to a host of different issues, such as discrimination, sexism, misogyny, bias, bigotry, prejudice, and sexual harassment. She works for an adult bully who has created a hostile work environment. She takes her concerns to her manager's boss, an executive vice president, who in turn decides that it would be easier to gaslight Chi instead of dealing with the issues. God, you got to love corporate. You got to love us. Instead of dealing with these issues, which have everything to do with not being kind to your employee, right? Kindness, no discrimination. Chi did not realize that they were being gaslighted. Their manager was moved to a new job. And now Chi reported directly to that executive vice president. She was nominated for the top manager award, and she even won. The EVP did this to confuse her, right? Because you were having all of these issues, right? They were having all of these issues, but now you're getting to be a top leader, right? It also aligned other employees against them, against that person, because they wanted that top award. Now, I'll tell you, this is just crazy how this goes down. The problems, of course, did not go away. Hostile work environments, adult bullies, they don't go away unless something happens. And I have a whole chapter in my book about how HR is the problem, and I piss off HR all the time by saying that. So the problems did not go away. She spoke to her EVP about the issues weekly. By this time, she understood that her EVP was a female misogynist, because there are women out there that don't like other women, and made sure to document everything. So this EVP told she was crazy and the issues weren't that bad. She needed to deal with it or quit her job. She knew that the company had a business code of conduct, which specifically stated these behaviors were not allowed. She took her documented issues to Human Resources, and Human Resources did nothing to help the situation. They didn't even bother to respond for almost 6 months. The gaslighting continued until she no longer worked in that environment. She went to a different job. The EVP and all the people involved in the issue still have their jobs and are allowed to continue their behavior. And I, in fact, know today, when I wrote this book and it was published at the beginning of 2020, and in 2019, 2020, these people still have their jobs today. And it's still not any better. The discrimination and some of these things that these particular people are allowing still are going on today. Chiefs managers were allowed to continue the bad behaviors while human resources condoned and basically approved of them. If the KRT model was being used, the company would have never allowed this behavior to become normalized. Human resources would have actually done the right thing. So, part of the business case for kindness. So, and my glasses came down. I hope everybody is going to have a great rest of their Wednesday. Leading for the future, it's kind. Leading for the future is kind. And I'm here to help us go there. The more kind, the better. I think I've got my Be Kind up here. My name is Cherie Krim. I'm the founder of Be Kind to All. And I thank you guys for being here today with me. Every Wednesday, we're going to talk about leadership for the future here live on all of these different platforms. We will continue to do that. I will, for the rest of this, we're almost at 10:40. I'm going to stay live for a few more minutes and see if there is any questions out there. And thanks, Neil. It was nice for you to join in today. I hope you're following me. Every Wednesday, I'll be doing this, and I really want to get more people to get involved and to learn, because the more kindness we have, well, the better for all of us, right? Because we're not going to be out there in this command and control. We'll be in the more nurturing. So, all right, I'm going to stay live over here on TikTok for a little while, and I'm going to end over here on